Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is very upset, situation monitoring, the Strait of Hormuz is still closed. And the Bab el-Mandeb Strait is also partially closed as well. The Ansar Allah movement is pummeling the Yanbu port that Saudi Arabia is currently utilizing to transit oil tankers through the Red Sea. Their route was going through the Bab el-Mandeb around the African continent. And now they are not able to do so. And on top of that, their refinery is on fire. The Ansar Allah movement struck back against Saudi Arabia by hitting an Aramco refinery. And the situation is becoming untenable. In the process, Donald Trump said that he would punish Iran more viciously than he's ever done so. And yet, after 13 days of tit-for-tat strikes, back and forth strikes, Donald Trump mysteriously paused the American operations on Iran for 2 nights in a row. Oh, it's this guy, unfollow. Strange. Don't understand why people follow, forget that they followed and go, fuck, man. It's time to unfollow this guy. It's terrible. Maybe he didn't recognize me without the beard. Perhaps that's the case. Anyway, Netanyahu, of course, in the brief pause to the strikes against Iran, has decided to come and meet with Trump amid the war in Iran.
For now, after 2 weeks of trading lethal strikes back and forth overnight, U.S. and Iranian weapons were quiet, but tensions remain high in the region. U.S. Central Command saying it boarded a ship Sunday in the Arabian Sea on suspicion of violating the U.S. blockade of Iran before ultimately letting that ship go. And in the nearby Red Sea, the Houthi rebels, Iran's proxy group in Yemen, opening up a new front, targeting Saudi oil exports, claiming they hit state-run oil operations in the Saudi kingdom. This week, declaring a maritime blockade on Saudi-linked shipping in the Red Sea's Bab el-Mandeb Strait, a vital trade route. Saudi Arabia releasing this video of what it says are their patrols, the Saudi military carrying out attacks of its own on Houthi targets inside Yemen. President Trump meeting with his national security team on Friday to discuss next steps, saying this week he's considering a massive attack on Iran.
There's 2 ways. I mean, it's you can just keep doing exactly what we're doing and take them apart piece by piece. We can do it in a more rapid fashion, which we might do, or we can negotiate with them, which we're also doing right now.
This all comes just days before Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu heads to the White House Tuesday to meet with President Trump. Their first face-to-face since his February visit, where he argued for the joint U.S.-Israeli attacks on Iran days before the start of the war.
So just how much we should read into this pause in the fighting remains unclear, but what is completely clear is that this entire region remains on edge. Gio?
All right, Matt Rivers, thank you so much for your reporting there.
Joining me now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the man himself.
All right, the real president is back, and he's ready to chirp at the bullshit Americans who aren't doing enough to defend Israel's interests.
Minister of Israel, Benjamin.
The real president of the United States of America is back to demand that Americans die at Israel's behest. Not enough Americans have died yet. More Americans must die so that Israel can take out a major player in the region. But before we do that, I'm sure it's just a coincidence that Trump restarted this Iran war right after Mossad's new chief visited Washington. This was, of course, new reporting that came out earlier this week. The new director of Israel's Mossad spy agency, Roman Goffman, visited Washington 2 weeks ago for talks about the war in Iran and the Iranian nuclear program. He met with CIA Director Ratcliffe and White House officials.
Netanyahu. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good to be with you, Maria.
So, Prime Minister, you just heard what Zoran Mamdani had to say. He's calling you a war criminal. You're not welcome in New York City. We, of course, also heard from President Trump on this and many others who said this is absolutely not happening. But what are your plans? Are you still going to come to the UN General Assembly? Are you concerned about coming to New York?
No, I'm not concerned, and I certainly intend to do so. I've appeared just about every year, not every year, but almost every year in my prime ministership, unless there are security conditions. But barring that, and I don't expect that to be the case this time, yes, I do intend to come to New York.
The International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants for you and your former defense minister for genocide. What is your response to this?
Well, the one who promoted that was the ICC, the International Criminal Court prosecutor, who has since been completely exposed as a criminal. He himself was accused, was going to face charges of sexual harassment by 2 women. He knew that. And he was going to come to Israel, and he spoke warmly about Israel's judicial system and the fact that there has to be an extensive investigation before any conclusions are gone. And on the day that he was supposed to visit Israel, he canceled everything, called a news conference, and accused me and the former defense minister of war crimes. Now, we learned why. Because a few days before that, he was basically confronted by his chief of staff, who said, you know, these 2 employees of you, female employees of yours, are going to charge you with the sexual.
Wasn't Khan appointed by Israel? Yes, Khan was presented by Israel as a reliable substitute. But, of course, once he started doing his fucking job, immediately, he's a rapist. He's a rapist. Yeah, for the record, okay? I'm sorry. If you believe any of this shit, if you believe this to be anything but a honeypot operation, you are the biggest sucker of all time. If you were to come around and try to tell me at all that there is even remotely any fucking explanation here beyond Israel 100% honeypotted the living fuck out of Karim Khan for prosecuting Israel, I'm sorry, you are the most delusional rube of all time. Okay? Look, there are situations where there are credible sexual assault allegations, credible sexual harassment allegations. Okay? I'm sorry. Go ahead, do your fucking girl boss feminism on me. I am not entertaining this at all. Sorry. It's fucking bullshit. Okay? It is fucking bullshit. There is 0% chance. And if you think this is not an exceptional case, if you think this is like, oh, you're not taking rape seriously here, they're not taking it fucking seriously. They're literally taking victory laps over here. Okay? I'm sorry. It's fucking bullshit. And there will be more information that comes out about how fucking bullshit this is in some time. Yeah. Khan was removed for his misconduct, which jeopardized the important effort to prosecute Netanyahu and other Israeli officials. The International Criminal Court needs a credible chief prosecutor, not Khan. It's important not to give up on the ICC, but to ensure that no litmus test is applied to the new Chief Justice candidates. We don't want anyone who will do the equivalent of immediately stopping the investigation of Bush-era torture in Afghanistan or to slow walk the investigation of Israeli officials until Israel's genocidal response to October 7 made that no longer possible. Please, Khan was removed by diplomats casting a political vote in contradiction of the judges who found no misconduct. They seized an opportunity to remove a thorn on their side. They will not select another thorn now. This case was hijacked by the states, and some were okay with that. Okay? Do you know something we don't? I guess I have brain cells that you guys don't have. Okay? I guess I have brain cells that you guys don't have. They have been actively spying on the previous ICC prosecutor and they sanctioned the previous ICC prosecutor. What are we talking about? For fucking investigating Israel. Okay? Are you insane? The previous ICC prosecutor was a woman. So they went after her husband. Okay, they didn't get to honeypot her. They didn't get to fucking be like, oh, she's a rapist or anything. But they very clearly spied on her. We know this. We know this. Okay, they spied on her. They spied on all of her communications. They intercepted all of her communiques, and they were designing prosecutorial cases in Israel specifically around the what's the word? Complementarity? No. I'm using, there's a word for when the ICC steps in when normal democracies, which Israel is seemingly a part of this concept, but when normal democracies don't actually prosecute their war crimes, complementarity, under the binding agreement of complementarity, when Israel does not prosecute its own set of war crimes, the ICC has to kick in. Okay, so what Israel would do was they infiltrated and intercepted her communications, and whatever issue that she was investigating, like let's say there's a rape case in the West Bank, right? Let's say there's a rape case in the Israeli occupying forces against the Palestinian prisoner, right? And when she would investigate that stuff, and she would be on the phone asking questions about it, Mossad, which had intercepted her communications, would go back to the Israeli government and say, this is what they're looking into. We have to prosecute this. An example of this already took place with the pro-rape riots in Israel. The reason why Israel actually went after the 6 Sde Taman concentration camp guards for raping prisoners to death, sometimes in front of CCTV camera footage, was specifically so that they could kick in complementarity, so they could say, this is not in the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court because we are clearly prosecuting ourselves. Okay? That's it. That's what complementarity is, where normal democratic Western countries, as long as they prosecute their own war crimes, the International Criminal Court can't prosecute them. But because Israel is so unaccountable, Israel is so used to behaving with impunity, they don't give a fuck. So they try to use complementarity as a shield to prosecute internally some of the war crimes that the ICC is looking into. This is what they did with the previous ICC prosecutor before Karim Khan. Then they also got Trump in the first Trump term to sanction the ICC prosecutor. They've done this with ICJ prosecutors as well, International Court of Justice prosecutors, and they've done this with ICC judges and prosecutors as well. Okay? So I'm sorry, but if you were to look at that guy who is tasked with one of the most important criminal prosecutions of our generation, and magically all of a sudden he's considered a sex pest out of fucking nowhere. I think it was like one of his staffers or something that he may or may not have had a consensual affair with. I'm not entirely certain about the details, but it doesn't even fucking matter. Okay? If you think that he just out of the blue became a rapist the moment that he fucking started prosecuting Israel, you are the biggest fucking rube of all time. Okay? You are the biggest fucking rube of all time. There is not a single person in any international criminal court or in any international organizing body that hasn't been fucking destroyed by Israel. It could be Francesca Albanese, for example, who's responsible, the special rapporteur for the occupied Palestinian territories. Francesca Albanese has been openly sanctioned by banks, debanked. Her husband and her children have been kicked out of their fucking schools and shit. And you're going to sit here and act like this is a real situation, this is a real story? Get the fuck out of here. And his own judges did not find anything, okay? His own judges did not find any misconduct, but they still removed him nonetheless. But the reality is, if there were issues with the OIOS fact-finding, then the correct course of action was to send it back to the OIOS and make a new legal determination. But that took too long. States needed to get rid of him now. And so this charade of a vote was concocted. I do not see this as due process or as justice for anyone involved. It is a bad precedent for future cases of sexual misconduct because now a bunch of diplomats can clear someone guilty at the last minute, just as they remove someone who was cleared now. It's also a bad precedent for Palestinians whose case was obviously tampered with. Israel has plenty much admitted Israel has pretty much admitted involvement in building a coalition to remove Khan and will now likely slowly die. Pretending the ICC will now find a super prosecutor with lots of teeth and grit does nothing. It won't. The ship has sailed. If this has gone back to the OIOS, the judges re-examined and concluded misconduct, then this would have been a legitimate process. Khan would be to blame and would have to answer to the Palestinians for his actions. That is not what happened. Others will have to answer to them. Is this being talked about in real news or only Twitter posts? I mean, real news covered it. Real news covered it because, of course, you know, they're rejoicing. This is a huge blow. ICC judge admitted she was pressured. Oh, this is the former ICC chief. Yes, Fatou Bensouda. This is the lady I was talking about, Fatou Bensouda, who led the international body from 2012 to 2021, said that two men with ties to Israel came to her house in The Hague after she opened the investigation in 2015 in order to intimidate her. I felt left alone. I felt unsupported. Bensouda also said that Mossad repeatedly pressured her to drop the investigation during official meetings with the chief of the Israeli spy agency. What was clear was that he didn't want an investigation on Palestine to go on, Bensouda said. Also, there are even authorities of some countries that have appealed to me. You really need to stop. This is going very far. You could be harmed or you could be killed or family members could be harmed in some ways. But to me, it was out of the question, Bensouda added. And yes, Karim Khan was the U.S. and Israel pick in 2021. They lobbied for him to get the job, and in return, he dropped the U.S. from his investigation of war crimes in Afghanistan and deprioritized the Palestinian topic. As soon as he dared to go after Netanyahu, the ICC got sanctioned by the U.S. Even their handpicked guy was like, enough is enough. We have to do something about this. And that was too much. That was a bridge too far. So they just fucking branded him as a rapist with fucking false allegations. And then the judges themselves found no fucking misconduct. Okay. But it didn't matter anyway because they pressured enough of the diplomats to fucking remove him from his position. And then they also celebrated it. They took credit for it too. Here's, to no one's surprise, the Wall Street Journal is rejoicing in the removal of Karim Khan. This glee comes days after the Wall Street Journal ran Marco Rubio's piece, Why We're Dismantling the International Criminal Court. I do wish Khan's vocal detractors would just be honest about the context. After months of burying the accusations of more than 2 years of dithering, the International Criminal Court has at last fired its prosecutor, Karim Khan. Israel taking credit for Karim Khan's removal. Against the backdrop of the dismissal of the International Criminal Court prosecutor Karim Khan, a senior Israeli official tells me that Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar played an active role in the efforts to advance the move. According to the official, Sa'ar oversaw a dedicated task force and employed intensive diplomatic efforts aimed at securing Khan's removal from office. What is this? The APAC Power Rangers? What the fuck is this? Yeah, whatever. I don't care about this shit. I'm talking about something bigger now. Mark Ruffalo says, just because you lobbied to have the man who issued the war crimes taken down doesn't mean the war crimes disappear or guilt is assuaged. You will not outrun justice. You will not lobby history. You were a murderous maniac, Benjamin Netanyahu. You will always be remembered as such. Yeah. I welcome the decision supported by overwhelming majority of countries to remove Karim Khan, the prosecutor of the ICC. The decision exposes the truth. Karim Khan was accused of sexually harassing women who worked under him. It was precisely as these allegations emerged that he canceled his planned visit to Israel, abandoned his previous commitment to thoroughly examine Israel's independent judicial system, and suddenly moved to pursue arrest warrants against me and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. He did so to divert attention from the allegations against him and to rally Israel's enemies around him as a political shield. That shield has now been torn away. It is fucking bullshit, okay? It is fucking bullshit, and you are a goddamn sucker and a goddamn rube if you entertain this even for a fucking brief moment. That's it. That's it. They don't even like the whole of the ICC. The fact that they're focused solely on him is strange to me. No, because he's the one with the credibility. He's the ICC prosecutor. He was going to prosecute the fucking case. That's why. Yeah. Sarah, alleged inappropriate behavior of another senior ICC official, also investigated and cleared before moving on to complain about Khan. The independent judges panel in Khan disciplinary found no serious misconduct. The ASP vote is political. Yeah. I am a firm and committed believer that this is an Israeli operation. That's it. There's an Israeli and American operation at play here. They 100% set this dude up to be like, they not only him, but anyone else that dare oppose Israel will be branded a fucking rapist or a murderer. They're just going to always tie you up with shit, and it doesn't fucking matter. Okay? This is gangsterism through and fucking through. Yeah. And of course, the vassals fall in line. Bizarrely, the Rubio State Department has made its war on the ICC a priority. The benefactor is Israel. The first countries that will surrender to this pressure are the vassal states. And of course, one of them is the interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, who also cleared this decision. The U.S. welcomes the decision by interim president Delcy Rodriguez in Venezuela to withdraw from the ICC and the new Venezuelan government's partnership on American-led efforts to dismantle the corrupt and worthless ICC. They put the guy with some dirt on him to lean into later. This was intentional. I think it's fucking bullshit because the quote unquote dirt is not even substantiated. You understand? Like, there's dirt and then there's whatever this fucking thing is, okay? Yeah, the ICC now has two paths before it. Has only two paths before it. Either it will demand that the ICC states immediately take action individually and collectively to execute the warrants for Netanyahu and Gallant, issue the additional warrants for other senior Israeli perpetrators, add to the additional charge of genocide, and act under Article 70 to punish U.S., UK, Israeli actors that have obstructed justice, or the court will fizzle out like a damp wick and cease to exist. Yes, it will take courage. It's going to fucking fizzle out, by the way. There's far too much pressure from the United States of America and all of its fucking dumbass vassals to piece up and destroy the International Criminal Court. Okay? That's it. And it's not like China is going to fucking back it. Okay? Who's going to back the ICC? Who's going to back international stability, rule-based international order? Who is going to be the card carrier, the banner carrier of the international rule-based order if America, which is the architect of this order, is not defending it? All of a sudden, when it impacts an American ally, a key American ally like Israel, no one is out there to defend it. Yes, it will take courage, but no other course will now salvage the court's legitimacy. The U.S.-Israel axis wants them to fall. Will the ICC stand or will the ICC stand and fight or walk silently to the gallows? There are no other choices. Is now or never. Right in time for fucking World War III. It's great. Yeah, if you can't win in the courts, attack the prosecutor and make sure it never gets to the courts is how you get around the justice system. Trump did it in Georgia with Fani Willis. Now Netanyahu is doing it with the ICC. I mean, this is gangsterism. I do want to add that Venezuela leaving the ICC likely does not have much to do with U.S. control. They've been under investigation for crimes against humanity under Khan and Bensouda, but they have never been prosecuted. I suspect Rodriguez is concerned the next prosecutor may finally open the prosecution, so jumped out before they could. I mean, I think that pressure still stems from America. It's a nice little cherry on top. It reasserts American dominance. It shows that Venezuela is completely captive to American interests. Just in case you missed it, but this message describing the U.S. is no longer standing for human rights and that no one listens to her anymore was posted by official French government account. Yeah. Yeah. Kenneth Roth has his next victim after pushing for Khan's removal for months and months. Volker Turk. Ken Roth's next target is Volker Turk, who will receive the Ken Roth treatment. Roth's campaign for Israeli impunity continues. Ken Roth will destroy anyone who even considers prosecuting perpetrators of the Zionist genocide. Yeah, former Human Rights Watch executive director. Now that the ICC member states have done the right thing by dismissing Karim Khan, UN member states... By the way, Professor Kenneth Roth is a professor at Princeton University, former Human Rights Watch executive director since 2022. Celebrating the decision that Karim Khan was ousted. Then says UN members should not let Antonio Guterres railroad through the reappointment of Volker Turk as the High Commissioner for Human Rights without a proper public debate, not just quiet consultation with governments, but also input from civil society. No High Commissioner has ever served a second four-year term. It's a badge of dishonor that Turk's first 4 years have been so timid that governments are willing to have him back for another 4. I cannot believe that these like serial blackmailers get to do whatever the fuck they want. And I guess, you know, it's America, so it's America's attack dog, so everybody gets to do whatever the fuck they want. Yeah, thankfully Volker Turk survived the push against them for the US, Israel, Russia coalition. The only states that voted against them were client states. Yeah, speaking of which, Haley Stevens also voted to sanction the ICC, just so you understand. Voted to sanction the ICC. Haley Stevens, Abdul al-Sayed's opponent in the Senate race, literally sanctioned the motherfucking ICC. Voted to sanction the ICC, the International Criminal Court. Disgusting. Do you think Netanyahu's guilty of any of the charges against him at the ICC? All adults, 45%. Democrats, 67%. Independents, 46%. 18 to 29, 49%. 30 to 44, 50%. 45 to 64, 44%. Over 65, 39%. Not that it matters. The public opinion and the public approval obviously don't fucking matter. What is this? Not everyone is American? And if we're talking complicity, everyone's getting called out. I mean, between China and the United States of America, really, like, there's a level of complicity that you can point to. I do all the time. China is a major trade partner to Israel. China offers Israel surveillance technology that they use on Palestinians in the West Bank. These are all real things, but it's like one is the United States of America that has entirely propped up Israel. The other one is just a global, major global power that is trying to invoke stability without disrupting American empire too much. You know, they could be doing a lot more. They have a lot more power to pressure. They're not utilizing that power. I do agree with you on that. But, you know, they're not the ones who are fucking piecing up the ICC. They're not the ones who are sanctioning the ICC judges and shit. There's no country on this planet that offers Israel the level of support that the United States of America offers. And as a matter of fact, I'll take it one step further. If America didn't offer Israel this level of unlimited fealty and support, the other countries wouldn't either. China and the rest of the world treat Israel as a vestige of America, as an extension of America. That's why they treat Israel with kitty gloves. That's it. The moment that America withdraws support, the rest of the world would pounce on Israel.
Crimes. So he thought, how am I going to divert my criminality to something that will protect me? And the best way, he thought, was Israel bashing and, frankly, bashing me, and thereby getting the envelope, the protection of all the anti-Israel crowd. And that's basically what he did, and it worked for a while. But then the truth came out by various organizations, including the left-wing newspapers, The Guardian. And as it came out, he lost his job. He thought, if there's an indictment, I'm going to have a job. There was an indictment, and he lost his job because he was removed by a vast majority of nations who knew that he was a con job. So his name is Karim Khan. He pulled a con job on the international community with these bogus charges of war crimes on us. Now he's going to be in the dock. And I think that tells you that the whole thing that the mayor of New York is basing himself on, this criminals, bogus charges, that's what he's using. And look at what he's doing. He's fomenting hate. He's supposed to be the mayor of all New Yorkers, Jews, Christians, Muslims, everyone. But he's trying to turn one group against the other, and he's foisting hate and fear. I speak to Jewish Americans in New York, and they're afraid right now. And I don't think it's accidental that after he made this hate speech against Israel and against me, the next day, a Jew is stabbed coming out of a synagogue. I think, and with a cry of Allah is Akbar, Allah Akbar. And you know what that means. So I think that it's shameful. This thing is very bad for New York. I think it's very bad for peace. But the answer to your question, I intend to come and speak the truth, speak for Israel and for the Israeli-American alliance from the podium of the United Nations.
Well, this is a very important point that you're making, though, because this rhetoric from Zoran Mamdani is more than just talking about Israel and a personal fight that he's having with you. I'm wondering if you believe that this rhetoric is making Jewish New Yorkers unsafe. And is that what's behind so much upset and this anti-Israel sentiment raging across the country?
Well, I do think that Jews feel very uncomfortable because I speak to quite a lot of my friends, and they say, look, it's like a different...
Yeah, I wonder who's responsible for anti-Semitism skyrocketing, Benjamin Netanyahu or the guy who's objectively more popular by wide margins amongst American Jews, Zoran Mamdani. Like, American Jews hate AIPAC, hate Benjamin Netanyahu, love Zoran Mamdani. Okay? The idea that this is like, the idea that the main guy who's responsible for maximum enmity towards the international Jewry, not just American Jews, but like Jews all around the fucking world, by constantly associating all of the death and destruction with them, is over here being like, oh, it's the people that are calling me out that are responsible for anti-Semitism. It's actually anti-Semitism to call me out. But Hassan, the U.S. supported the apartheid government of South Africa even until there was a UN agreement. They still voted against liberation. Why are they needed now? Please don't yell at me. It's because there was a lot more pressure, and Israel existed far beyond. Israel's apartheid existed far beyond the apartheid in South Africa, and they learned very important lessons from how the apartheid was destroyed in South Africa. Israel and apartheid South Africa were close allies. Israel actually aided and abetted apartheid South Africa, spied, the ADL, the Apartheid Defense League, literally spied on American Jews that were anti-South African apartheid, black student movements, trade unionist movements that were protesting against apartheid South Africa. Israel actually, by way of the ADL, spied on these people for South Africa. Okay? The problem is, when the apartheid ended in South Africa, Israel, which was maintaining its own apartheid, realized that there were some very important lessons that they could learn from this. So they got back to work. The same initiatives that existed that actually reached a critical level of success against apartheid South Africa have been outright criminalized in this country. Boycotts, divestments, and sanctions is not a movement that was invented against apartheid Israel. It was initially deployed against apartheid South Africa to great success. Cultural boycotts, academic boycotts against apartheid South Africa also played a formative role. Okay? Israel learned from the I guess, quote unquote, mistakes that they made. Apartheid South Africa made in terms of continuing its unjustifiable and illegal structure of apartheid. That's it. I think there's also, I guess this is more spiritual, but there is like, given that there was a already existing, I guess, guilt amongst some of the more progressive forces in the country about America's own history of anti-black racism. It was an easier message for Americans to understand. And also, a lot of black movements instantly were obviously on board with the abolition of the apartheid in South Africa. Whereas, again, where does Israel spend a lot of money? In the United States. We talked about this earlier. A lot of progressive black movements that are inside of the Democratic Party are funded in large part by AIPAC subsidiaries and big donors that are pro-Israel. That's part of the reason why, while the black population overall is not supportive of Israel at all, a lot of the establishment Democrats, a lot of the spokespersons for black Americans on mainstream media are very pro-Israel. They are directly at odds with their own base. The attitude that Americans have towards Jewish people in general, and they see Israel as the Jewish state, is shame because of the lack of support during the Holocaust, like, turning away Jewish refugees from the United States of America. A lot of this played a formative role in the design for why the American state played a big role in defending Israel from the start. It's this interesting dichotomy that exists for Jews in Israel as the majority group, as the dominant group, as the in-group of power, versus Jews in America that have been historically undermined. Okay? Historically undermined as a minority population. Not anymore. There's no real systemic discrimination against Jews in the United States of America in 2026, but historically there was discrimination against Jews. Systematic discrimination against Jews.
Different world. We're afraid to go into the streets. We certainly do not want to wear yarmulkes or any clothing that would give away that we're Jews. But yes, they feel frightened, and I think that's part of this incitement language that is sweeping.
Yeah, the anti-apartheid movement in the U.S. was also not long after the civil rights movement was kind of seen as an international thing, the fight against Jim Crow, even though you could say the same about anti-apartheid in Palestine. It's been a while since the civil rights era. Yes, but there's also a 20-year barrier between any kind of civil rights movement, international or domestic, and the global war on terror, which basically universalized Israel's enemies as America's enemies, the Muslim hordes in general. That is a big part of the reason. There is tremendous amounts of Islamophobia in American public, and that is what keeps Israel, that is what allows Israel to operate in the violent ways that it does, because ultimately the average American still goes, yeah, these Muslims are kind of scary and weird and dangerous, and I guess, like, the average American looks at the situation and goes, yeah, Jews are fighting against Muslims. It's like their own religious battle. I think the average American probably thinks like, yeah, Jews control the media, but I like Seinfeld. And Muslims I am fearful of because they did 9/11 and they want to do it all the time. So they just lean on one side over the other. Most people were uninitiated pre-October 7, and they kind of had this attitude over it. Super simple, but that is what it is. Jews control the banks, but they're good with money. And Jews control the media, but I like, the media. And that Muslims are scary terrorists. Like, the average American doesn't think deeply about this stuff. That's how they operate. It's the boomer philo-Semitism, the type of anti-Semitism we hear from Donald Trump, for example, like, oh, Jews make good lawyers, Jews make good money people, that kind of thing, is what causes what caused a lot of Americans to basically lean on the side of this like religious conflict that they designed in their heads as one being over Jews and Muslims, where they sided with the Jews over the Muslims. Bro, just fed the out of context Clippers for the next 1,000 years, Lamau. I mean, it very clearly, this is not my position. I'm saying that this is what the average American thinks, which, again, if they were to clip, most people would look at that and go, yeah, I agree with that. Actually, he nailed it.
A lot of circles with anti-Semitism, a lot of circles in the West, in the United States, and unbelievably, in New York City, which has the second largest Jewish population in the world after Israel. And I think it's wrong. The whole thing is wrong. And what are they doing? I mean, what Mamdani is supporting, his wife, his family, he celebrated October 7th massacre, the worst massacre against Jews since the Holocaust. He's basically supporting, he tries to say that he doesn't, but he's supporting the Hamas murderers who raped our women, then beheaded them, burnt babies alive, slaughtered our men, took innocent people hostages, 251 men, women, children, babies. That's who he's supporting. And they're the ones who are responsible for genocide. They would have killed, as their charter says, and as they themselves proclaimed, they would have killed every single Jew in Israel and every Jew in the world. So the genocide charge belongs to our enemies. What we're doing is try to fight this genocidal terrorist organization that embeds itself among civilians, prevents us from moving the civilians out of harm's way. They use gunpoint. That's where the real criminals are. But Mamdani is aligning himself with the criminals, with these murderers. But the worst thing is that he's tormenting his own citizens, his own voters. Yeah. No, that is wrong. And I've been to New York so many times, Maria. Yep. Over the years. I've met all the New York mayors. They all saw themselves as mayors of all New Yorkers, not putting
Yeah, he's talking about, you can tell Hassan actually despises Bibi. Yes, I fucking hate him. He is disgusting. He's a disgusting monster. Anyone with a conscience should also hate him. And do. Many people do. Even people who are pro-Israel hate this fucking guy. This guy is a demon through and through. Is indefensible. Not gonna lie, is it wrong to say that the average normal person doesn't even think about it? Like, most people have exams and or work going on. Have you talked to any human being in the last 3 years? Like, actually, have you talked to any human being other than just trolled in this fucking chat? Dog, there is no one under the age of 35 that will openly in broad daylight say that they love Israel, okay? Like, most normies have moved far beyond the position. Most normies have moved far beyond the position that Israel is like an ever-present danger. They literally also embody some anti-Semitic tendencies as well. That's what most normies think. We are abnormal. We are abnormal for our criticisms of Israel and our criticisms of anti-Semitism. We are in the tiny, minuscule minority. Most people have moved far beyond shitting on Israel. They 100% go above and beyond. Like, it's not even just like shit that would be, considered anti-Semitic, maybe on the edge, like, kissing the wall memes and stuff like that. All of that stuff is now normalized. Everyone says it now. Okay? Everybody says it. When I say don't think seriously, it's mostly memes. Israel is literally a substitute for all things cringe. Israel is a substitute for all things bad. When people fucking hate something, they say this is Israel coded. Like, it's done. It's super done. It's so bad that people literally fell for Candace Owens saying Israel killed Charlie Kirk. Like, there are even people here who sincerely believe this. And I'm agnostic on that. Okay. I don't push back on that stuff anymore. I used to, but hey, it's out of my hands.
Pitting one part of the population against the other.
Of course. Mr. Prime Minister, let me move on to the war, where we saw the highest, really, hostilities yet in the last week. What will it take to end this war?
I think it will, what will it take? It will take for Iran to understand, either for this regime to fall or for Iran to realize that the cost of wreaking economic chaos to the world, murdering its thousands of its own citizens, and shooting at everyone. I mean, literally at everyone. At Saudi Arabia, at Bahrain, at Qatar, at Kuwait, at the UAE, at Israel, at Jordan, every single one. I mean, this is what this regime is doing when they don't have nuclear weapons. So imagine what they would do if they had nuclear weapons. I think when this regime is either toppled or it's sufficiently weakened that it knows it has to end its nuclear program and has to change its course. That's really what President Trump is trying to achieve, and I back his fully his efforts to do so. If he can do so without returning to intense military fighting, that's fine. Why not? But one way or the other, they have to end their nuclear program. And with a deal or without a deal, that has to come to an end.
How far back do you believe Iran's nuclear program has been set back since this fighting began at the end of February?
Quite a bit. I mean, we knocked out 20 of their chief nuclear scientists in the 2 operations that we did with the United States, 20 leading nuclear scientists. We knocked out a lot of their facilities. It doesn't mean that they can't try to reconstruct, but we pushed them back a good few years. That's important. Because just imagine, I mean, what would happen if this regime that chants death to America, that's their real goal, death to America, if they had nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them to where you're sitting right now, Maria, to New York or to Washington or to any city in the United States, this would be a mortal peril to every citizen in the United States. And obviously, President Trump and I are both committed to prevent this danger to the United States, to the peace of the world, and to Israel. And I can tell you that we'll pursue all the means to prevent that. So yes, we pushed it back, but it doesn't mean that you can't have the attempt to restore it. And we have to be on the constant watch so it doesn't happen.
And you're getting set to travel to the U.S. to meet with President Trump and then attend the funeral.
Yeah, he's here. He's coming back. He's coming back to check in on his little pawn. It's great.
Services of Senator Lindsey Graham. Prime Minister, what can you tell us about any fresh new intelligence that you may have about that nuclear program that you are about to present President Trump with?
Well, first let me say that Lindsey Graham is a terrible loss. He was such a great friend, such a champion of America and a patriot, and such a champion of the Israeli-American alliance. He believed in the benefits that Israel gives to the United States in terms of intel, weapons technology, and of course we appreciated very much all the help that we got from the United States. So he was an extraordinary American patriot, and we miss him greatly. As far as the nuclear program, we constantly exchange information. Our intel services and yours are working so close together that it's not that I'm going to present new information, but I think it's a good thing to have the opportunity to sit with our good friend President Trump and to hear what he has in mind, because I think in many ways it's his decision. But let me say one thing, and I think I should say it very, very clearly. If Iran attacks Israel, either directly or through proxies, either with ballistic missiles or UAVs or killer drones, it will make a terrible mistake, because our response, Israel's response, will be very, very forceful.
My conservative family saying Trump should be allowed to run for 2028 because only he can stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons. I keep pointing out that Netanyahu has been saying they would build a nuclear bomb within months every year now, ever since they denied him going to the local park with unsalted peanuts and hard-boiled eggs to feed the crows. I don't know what to do anymore, man. I think it's a call. Fuck. God damn it. Bro, I just got off of a fucking almost 20-hour flight to come back home, and I rushed over here. First day back. Hit the start streaming button. And y'all got to do me like this? That's what we're doing? That's what we're fucking doing? Support independent media, Piker Broadcasting Service, People's Broadcasting Service, sponsored by you, the people, for you, the people. Okay. It's fucked up.
Prime Minister, Lebanon is also a key central to Israel's long-term security. I want to get your take on the meeting in the White House with the president of Lebanon last week and your thoughts on whether or not he can be a positive in this fight.
Well, first of all, I think we've already had a positive development because remember, Hezbollah, that basically holds Lebanon hostage, had taken over the south of the country that borders on Israel. And they were going to invade us like the Hamas did on October 7th. They were going to do it actually with a force a lot bigger. They prepared terror tunnels. They had terror installations along the border. And we pushed them back. We pushed them back by 5 to 8 miles away from our border, destroyed a lot of these terror tunnels. And they were in a position to fire directly anti-tank missiles right into our living rooms across the border. Actually, they did that. So we prevented that from happening. I think we weakened Hezbollah a lot. They had 150,000 missiles and rockets, the greatest concentration of such projectiles on the planet aimed against Israel. We knocked out about 94% of that. So that's good for Israel, good for peace, good for Lebanon. But it's still there. We talked to the Lebanese government with America's good offices in Washington, led by the president and Secretary Rubio, and we got a deal. And the deal says openly, for the first time in decades, Israelis and Lebanese are talking directly to one another. And the deal was we push back Hezbollah, we demilitarize Lebanon, we disarm Hezbollah, and we make peace. And I think the fact that this deal was put forward is a great advance. It shows that Hezbollah's ability to intimidate Lebanon's government and its president has been sharply reduced. Now, whether or not the Lebanese army can take over the areas that we clear up from.
Damn, did Big Yahoo lose a step? Hasbara isn't hitting as good. He's fucking... Maybe it's the ass cancer. But the Hasbara never works any longer. It's just they have to prop it up with bots. Make no mistake, this is war. Every accusation is a confession. The UN is not a safe place to be anymore. It's time to vote in America now. How about Israeli boots on the ground instead of American soldiers? I hope Netanyahu and Trump will have a huge military escort in New York. They will have enemies there. The mayor won't help them. Only IDF posts haven't been censored in the comment section. Praying for wisdom for all our leaders. God bless.
Hezbollah, that remains to be seen, but we're willing to give it a try. And I think that it's on the whole a positive development and may lead to another peace treaty between Israel and an Arab country.
Wow. Well, that's what I want to ask you about the Abraham Accord. But first, let me ask you this, because many Israelis are deeply divided on what your government is doing in the response to this. What do you want to say to critics who may not understand what you're seeing in terms of this ongoing war?
I think there's a lot more unity in the country than appears in the various statements by politicians. Most Israelis understand we have to fight Hezbollah. We're doing that, by the way, with an incredible ratio of 5 terrorists killed for every civilian killed. That's unheard of. And we do it because we precision target the terrorists. Hezbollah, like Hamas, embeds itself among civilians, but we've been able to reduce that ratio in Gaza because the last thing we want is genocide. In fact, we want to hit the terrorists, not the civilians that they use as human shields. And we're very successful in doing that in Lebanon. Most Israelis understand that we have to keep the security zone that we have now alongside the Israeli border on the Lebanese side in order to prevent a new invasion attempt by Hezbollah terrorists. And most support our efforts to reach a peace with Lebanon. So I would think there's a lot more unity among Israelis than meets the eye. And if I'm elected again, we're going to have elections in a few months, I intend to create a broad national government that will give expression to that unity in the next government.
And Prime Minister, I want to get your take on this Saudi deal over a nuclear deal with the U.S. Israel was concerned in the past about Saudi Arabia's ability to enrich uranium But President Trump has done this civilian nuclear deal program with the Saudis on the condition that Saudi Arabia join the Abraham Accords. Are you expecting that? And what is your assessment of this nuclear?
Does he even have electoral opposition? Yes, but they're also they also are in favor of the same shit.
Nuclear deal.
Well, first of all, I think President Trump was absolutely right in stating that condition. That Saudi Arabia would get a civilian nuclear program in exchange for normalization of relations with Israel. I stress civilian because the last thing we want, and I'm sure the last thing the president wants, is a military program, nuclear program in Saudi Arabia. Can we have this? Yes, I think it's possible. Remember that we had 4 peace agreements between Israel and Arab nations, brokered by President Trump, with my working together with me. It's a great achievement, historic achievement, and obviously we'll be delighted if we could extend it to Saudi Arabia and other countries. And I think if we weaken Iran further, we will.
Which countries are you expecting to join the Abraham Accords?
They're playing him out.
The ones that I want to join, I will not. I won't reduce the probability.
What the fuck is going on? They're playing him out. Maria's like, I love you, Mr. President. You're the real president. I can't get enough of you.
Of their joining by exposing them here, but I can tell you that we have. Well, Maria, I'll tell you this. Everybody says Israel's isolated. It's not isolated. I mean, many countries in Africa, in Latin America.
That's the real president talking. You can't fucking play him out. He can go on for as long as he wants to.
In Asia, even in Europe, many countries are coming to us because they want to share our technology, civilian technology. They want to benefit from our military prowess and technology.
Yes.
And there are now contacts with several Arab countries in the Middle East, but because I want to advance those contacts, I'd rather reserve my answer to a future appearance on your show.
Well, and we want you back. But real quick before you go, Mr. Prime Minister, the anti-Semitism in the Democrat Party, are you worried about losing the Democrat Party? Does it pose a risk to Israeli-U.S. relations? Real quick, sir.
Yeah, I'm very concerned with that, obviously, because I think a bipartisan support for Israel is important, very important for us. But I'll tell you what I'm worried about most. I'm worried about the reasons that leading Democrats have said privately. One of them said it actually publicly, of why they joined the radical fringe. And the reason is that their family has been harassed, that they're afraid of being tailed everywhere and being intimidated by this radical fringe. So I think that's really something that should worry every American. You don't want legislators taking their position because of personal intimidation. That's bad. Yes, I worry about it.
Mr. Prime Minister, good to have you this morning. We so appreciate.
Yeah, only Israel gets to do personal intimidation. Anyway, that's all for today, folks. I'm tired. Long travel. But I still wanted to come back strong because there was a lot I didn't get to today, but there's a lot I covered. I'll be back tomorrow with more news. Monday News Day. You already know we got some special guests coming on this week. And then after, in the end of the week, I will be traveling to Michigan and Wisconsin and all over the place. So there's going to be a lot of festivities. Primaries are coming up next week. Tomorrow night, there is a big debate. Abdullah Sayed Haley Stevens debate coming up. Very exciting stuff there. But for the time being, this is all I got. Love you all. And I will see you tomorrow.
Stunning lo-fi introduction, starting off the day. All the chatter's trickling in, hostile people hate. Sunny in Los Angeles, California, says Hassan. Stun luck to the stun luck to the topics just begun. 'Cause there he is again, Hassan is streaming. Hassan is streaming. There he is again. the sun is streaming. The sun is streaming. Reviewing a Chinese train, telling Kaya place. Sun and Asmin chatter laws, giving Greening's grace. Zoran winning NYC, woke two back with the force. The Rogan of the left, to me a dumb himbo still of course. The Charlie Kirk assassination, the Fear and Online show. 8 full fucking years of this, and plenty more to go. Doing fun stuff tomorrow, throw PBS up on the screen. A man-made horror reaction brought to you by this life's dream. 'Cause there he is again, her sun is streaming. Her sun is streaming. There he is again, her sun is streaming. Her sun is streaming. Kicked out of the DNC, IRL with March the Goat. Combating the propaganda that shoved down people's throats. CBS Israeli news, a coup, a regime falls. A full-blown fascist takeover, and still the duty calls. Total radicalization coming out to sea. The system will always fail, it's up to you and me. On these daily streets, whether short or whether long, have helped millions of people keep it moving right along. 'Cause there he is again, her sun is streaming. Her sun is streaming. There he is again, her sun is streaming. Her sun is streaming. But hey, what can you say? That's PBS for you. But he'll play games real soon. Just you wait. Say, hey, what can you say? That's PBS for you. But he'll move on real soon. Just you wait. Ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da. Hey, what can you say? That's PBS for you. But he'll pull your lungs real soon. Just you wait. Sha-da-da, sha-da-da, sha-da-da-da-da-da. Hey, what can you say? That's PBS for you. But he'll do jet advice real soon. Just you wait. But hey, what can you say? That's PBS for you. Brought on by viewers like you. Just you wait. Just you wait.